You have an idea, you just know it's a good one. So, where do you start? You're ready to dive in. Maybe weeks, maybe months. But how do you avoid burning your runway by solving the wrong problem, targeting the wrong market, or testing the wrong thing? That kind of drift is expensive. In this walkthrough, I'll show you how Blueprints is built to cut down that drift by helping you find a clearer starting direction before more time, money, and energy disappear into the wrong places. Here on the landing page, the core promise is simple. Test your idea before it tests you. Because for most people, the biggest risk is not having no ideas. It is moving too fast on an idea that still has too many unanswered questions. A raw idea can sound exciting and still be unclear on the things that matter most. Who it is really for, what problem it solves, whether people will pay, what the simplest starting offer is, and what kind of founder effort it will actually require. Blueprints is designed to help with that early stage when the cost of confusion is still avoidable. The way Blueprints handles that is through a structured process. First, it asks a small set of foundational questions. Then it uses a framework to assess what is actually here. And from that, it generates a card-based blueprint that turns a vague idea into something more decision-ready. This is important because Blueprints is not trying to replace judgment with a generic answer. It is not just brainstorming. It is not random idea generation. And it is not a one-click business in a box. It is a structured way to pressure test an idea and help surface a starting path that makes sense for the real person behind it, including their constraints, practical needs, and goals. From here, I'll log in and show you the actual workflow. A user can create an account with any email address or sign in with Google or Apple and get right into it. Once inside, let's click on My Ideas in the top navigation bar. This is the Ideas dashboard. This is where a user can see their existing ideas, revisit earlier blueprints, continue refining something in progress, or start a new idea from scratch. That matters because idea development is rarely linear. Sometimes you revisit, sometimes you sharpen, sometimes you pivot, and sometimes you realize the best move is not to keep building the original concept, but to carve out a smaller wedge that has a better chance of working. To start, I'll create a new idea. The point here is not to show up with a perfect business plan already formed. The point is to begin with what you actually have, even if that is still rough. This is where Blueprints begins to structure the raw idea. Instead of forcing the user into a long traditional form, it opens a guided conversation. That lowers the barrier to getting started, while still gathering the information needed to make a real assessment. The first phase is about getting the idea into words clearly enough to work with. Not polished, not investor-ready, just clear enough to start separating signal from assumption. This is a crucial point because many founders do not fail from lack of effort. They fail because they lock onto a version of the idea before they have properly framed the problem, the user, or the context. As the conversation continues, Blueprints asks the kinds of questions a founder should be asking early. What exactly is the idea? Who is it for? What pain is being solved? What would make someone care enough to act? What is already happening today without this solution? And just as importantly, what constraints does the founder have? Because a viable idea for one person may be a terrible starting point for another if it demands too much capital, too much complexity, or too much time before the first proof of demand. At this stage, Blueprint starts turning the conversation into a structured set of answers. This is where a loose idea begins to become more legible. Not just what is the idea, but what kind of opportunity is this really? And what should this founder be paying attention to before committing harder? Once those inputs are in place, Blueprints generates the blueprint. And this is where the value shifts from idea capture to idea assessment. Instead of leaving the user with a vague motivational feeling, the platform starts producing something they can examine, challenge, and use. Now, we are inside the blueprint itself. At the top, the idea is restated more clearly and in a more structured way than it started. That alone is useful because many founders are carrying something promising but still fuzzy. The blueprint is designed to make the idea easier to evaluate, easier to explain, and easier to act on. From here, Blueprints begins answering the questions that should shape an early-stage decision. What is the customer pain or friction here? Why might this matter now? What kind of market behavior does this connect to? And what signals suggest there may actually be something worth pursuing? The goal is not to tell the founder what they want to hear. The goal is to help them see the opportunity more honestly. One of the most important parts of a good early assessment is context. Most ideas do not exist in a vacuum. People already have workarounds. Competitors already exist. Adjacent solutions already exist. Indifference also exists. So Blueprints looks at the surrounding landscape and helps frame where the idea may fit, how it might differentiate, and where it may be vulnerable. That matters because a founder does not just need enthusiasm, they need orientation. It also looks at timing. Even a good concept can be wrong for right now, and even a modest idea can become more viable if timing, buyer behavior, tools, or market conditions create an opening. That kind of framing helps the user avoid blindly pushing forward just because an idea feels exciting. This next part is where the blueprint becomes especially useful for practical founders. Instead of pretending every idea is equally ready, it surfaces friction. What might make this hard to deliver? What could slow adoption? What trust barriers exist? What operational realities could make the first version harder than it sounds? That is incredibly important for anyone trying to build something responsibly while still protecting cash flow, time, and momentum. And this is also where Blueprint stays mindful of the founder's real situation. A theoretically attractive idea can still be a poor fit if it asks for too much too soon. So the blueprint helps frame not just market viability, but practical viability. Is this something a person can reasonably start? What kind of effort profile does it have? Where could it overwhelm the founder? And where might a smaller, smarter wedge make more sense? This is where the platform begins to shift from assessment into action. Instead of trying to force a full-scale business model too early, Blueprints looks for the most viable starting move, not the final empire, not the giant master plan, the starting wedge. That is a major difference because people do not usually need their 10-year roadmap on day one. They need a first version that can create learning, proof, and ideally revenue without overextending them. So now the blueprint starts translating the analysis into a realistic initial direction. That might mean a smaller service before a product, a narrow niche before a broad market, a simple paid offer before a complex platform, or a manual first version before automation. This is often where money and time are saved, because the smartest path is frequently not the most glamorous one. Now we start seeing the first practical plan take shape. And this is where the platform becomes very usable. The founder is not left with abstract theory. They begin to get next step thinking. What to test, what to package, what to say, what to validate, and what to avoid doing too early. This is the part many users will care about most, because once the noise is stripped away, the real question becomes, what should I actually do next? Not 50 things, not a giant startup checklist. The next move that best matches this idea, this founder, and this stage. That is what turns insight into momentum. And if the user wants to revise or improve the direction, they can regenerate the blueprint. This matters because idea development is iterative. Once you see the first structured assessment, new insight often appears. You realize a narrower audience makes more sense. A different wedge is smarter, a better framing emerges. So Blueprints is not a dead-end report. It is part of an ongoing thinking process. Here we can see the updated direction. This is a strong example of the platform's real value. It is not just documenting the first idea as stated. It is helping refine the idea into a version that may be more viable, more practical, and more aligned with what the founder can actually execute. With the regenerated version, the same structured logic carries through. Clearer framing, opportunity assessment, risk awareness, and a more workable path forward. And that is important because often the best result of early strategy is not confirmation. It is improvement. The blueprint keeps pressing on the questions that matter most. Is this compelling enough? Is it differentiated enough? Is it timely enough? Is it realistic enough? That discipline is what helps reduce expensive drift. At this point, the founder can begin judging the idea through a much more useful lens. What would it take to test this? What resources are actually required? What can be done leanly? How can I get to first proof without building too much? That is the kind of thinking that helps someone move toward revenue sooner, rather than hiding in preparation. And again, the platform translates that into action. Not just, here is your idea, but here is a sensible starting path. Here is what to focus on first, and here is what not to spend energy on yet. That is the difference between having a concept and having a move. The workspace also supports refinement. So if the founder wants to add more context, revisit assumptions, or continue shaping the concept, they can keep working from within the same evolving idea environment rather than starting over each time. You can also see the thinking trail behind the blueprint. That is useful because founders often need to revisit why a certain direction was recommended, what assumptions were made, and how the strategy evolved. So instead of treating the output as a static document, Blueprints works more like a structured decision environment around the idea. That makes it more useful for real-world iteration. And as versions evolve, the user can compare directions and judge which one feels more promising, more realistic, or more aligned with their goals. That is powerful, especially for founders who are trying to be thoughtful rather than impulsive. Here you can see how two different framings of the same general concept can lead to meaningfully different starting paths. That is exactly why this stage matters. A lot of wasted months begin with a decent idea and a poor first framing. So that is Blueprints. It is built for the stage before overbuilding, before expensive drift, and before a founder commits too much to the wrong version of an idea. If you have something promising but still raw, Blueprints helps turn that into a more structured assessment, a more viable wedge, and a clearer starting plan. Because a good idea is not enough. What matters is finding the version you can actually start, test, and grow from, and that is the work Blueprints is here to support.